Welcome back, everybody. Now, week 7 to mine and Mr. Graves' NFL predictions. Both of us this week or last week had a positive record. Unfortunately for myself, I am still behind because I was just a few games behind him this week. But I'll let him, as always, tell you guys the records for last week's episode.
Yep. So last week I went 11-3, which brings me up to 53-41 on the season, and you went 8-6, so still a winning record. But you're 45-49, so still not completely too far away from each other, but
pulling away just a little bit.
Yeah, just by a hair.
Just a little bit. Maybe if the Packers stop losing to New York teams. Well, we won't lose to any more New York teams the rest of the season. I can guarantee you that. But
you do play the Bills.
So. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're going to beat them.
Lose to the Jets and Giants and beat the Bills.
We won't lose to any more New York name teams.
That play in New Jersey.
Yeah. Obviously, we won't lose to any more New York. That's what I really
mean. No more New Jersey teams.
New York teams that don't actually play in New York.
There you go.
That's the real thing I meant. Hopefully we don't lose to them in the next decade or so. They have a good record though. They're 4-2. I'm shocked by that, but we'll get to them in a few games here. And let's go ahead and start on the AFC side as usual. We've got the Colts taking on the Titans, who are coming off of a bye week last week. Oh.
Again, this is so tough because both these teams have been so inconsistent.
Yeah.
Especially the Colts, but I'm going to say the Titans win this one coming off the bye week.
Yeah, I'm going to pick the Titans too. I don't exactly know what is going on with Jonathan Taylor still. I think he's still technically questionable, but even if he's there, their offense hasn't looked good. So
yeah, and honestly, the Colts, I'm not even sure how their running back situation is because Jonathan Taylor could still be out. Nyheim Hines, I haven't seen anything about him. And they're
have to pick up their 8th running back in fantasy.
Is it Deion Jackson?
I believe so.
But even he got injured because they had no running backs. That's why Matt Ryan threw the ball 60 times last week. But I don't know.
I'm going to stick with the Titans on that one.
Yeah.
Next up, we have the Browns and the Ravens, led by, as our coworker would say, the non-MVP Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. In the last couple weeks, he's not played up to par, but I think, even if he doesn't have a big bounce-back statistic day, I think they're going to win this game.
Yeah, I lean Ravens because I think he's probably going to have a bounce-back week. Maybe not I don't think he's probably going to have as good as he was those first few weeks.
Yeah.
But I think he's definitely going to, at least the minimum he needs to do is stop turning it over as much as he has been.
Yeah, especially he's turned it over in the fourth quarter a couple times the last 2 weeks. So.
Yeah, last week he threw an interception.
Yeah, and he fumbled it.
Yeah, and then I remember a few weeks ago he had a couple fumbles in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and a pick against the Bills. I'm pretty sure.
If he protected the ball, I feel like the Ravens easily maybe 5-2, 5 or 6-0, something like that. Their record could easily be much different.
Yeah, the only game that really wasn't on them was the Dolphins one. That was one of the defense, but
yeah, that one he played like an MVP that game. But unfortunately for him, they sit at 3-3 on the season. If our predictions are correct, obviously they go to 4-3. But we'll have to see until that game happens. Next up, we have two teams coming off of their bye weeks: the Texans and the Raiders.
Yeah, I would like for this to be a bit of a different pick, but I think we're both going to go the same. I'm going Raiders.
I like the Raiders in this one. Obviously, they're the more talented team. They haven't looked that good. Texans did find a nice running back in Dameon Pierce, it seems, though.
Yeah.
He's been doing really good. Thankfully, I don't know how I just get lucky with running backs off of waivers every fantasy year. I had James Robinson the season he blew up.
Yeah.
I don't know how I get lucky like that, but still, I think it's pretty safe for both of us to pick the Raiders on this one. They're better than the Texans overall. Whether they hadn't won a single game, I'd still pick the Raiders. Hopefully Devontae doesn't catch any charges this week. Then. I guess that's what going from MVP quarterback and Hall of Fame quarterback can do for you. So.
You're going to bring that up every week, aren't you?
Yeah, I am going to bring that up because I am salty about that quote.
And until they win every game the rest of the year, you're gonna keep
Yeah,
bringing that up.
until the Raiders win the Super Bowl and Derek Carr is inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame, I will be bringing that up every year of every Raiders game, probably.
Uh,
um, I, I don't know. I mean, I don't like, or it's not that I dislike Devontae. It's just kind of a weird thing for him to say. But I
yeah,
mean, hey, it's looked pretty good, even though they're bad. The Packers don't look that good, but we'll talk about them
yeah,
probably pretty extensively in a couple minutes here.
yeah.
Unfortunately. So now probably my second least favorite team in the NFL, the Jets, taking on the Broncos.
Yeah.
I don't mind the Jets.
Um, this might be a different pick, but
Hey, I'm leaning Jets on this
I
one.
okay, never mind. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I,
The Broncos just have been so terrible.
it's just they have all the weapons you feel like for their offense to be good. They just can't get it going. It seems like.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is I don't know what their coach is doing. Like Melvin
Yeah,
Gordon, I don't know if you saw the game the other day, which Russell Wilson was like almost perfect the first half. He had like 170 yards and a touchdown and only a couple incompletions the first quarter or the first half. He had 15 yards the second half in overtime.
geez, that's crazy.
Yeah, and Melvin Gordon had 3 carries for 8 yards in the first quarter. Didn't touch the ball again because he had a fumble. And it's like he takes away carries from Javonte Williams, but then you get Latavius Murray and who Mike Boone is their other running back, and they
That's like
use him over Melvin Gordon.
that's like Matt LaFleur level play calling right there.
Yeah. Hey, he came from Green Bay, so.
That is true. He did. So
But,
dang, both of us lean. Well, I can't even call it an upset because the Jets are 4-2 on
yeah,
the season. The Broncos are 2-5. It's kind of like the Giants. Like, okay, yeah, they upset the Ravens, but I'm like, when you look at it, they have a better record. It's just such a
yeah,
weird season. Like,
yeah.
you're like,
It's
oh, all
very
these
weird.
teams are upsetting them, but they have better records. I don't. It's a weird year in the NFL, but both of us a weird week for both of us to pick the Jets to win a game.
Yeah,
That's probably not something that we've done in a long time, or
yeah,
would have done for a long, long time.
yeah.
Um, anyways, we get to the Steelers and the Dolphins. The Steelers, didn't they beat the Patriots last week? Or was that a
It'd
couple
be the
weeks ago?
Buccaneers.
Beat the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Tom Brady. I don't know why I said Patriots. Um,
Man,
oh man,
I don't want us to pick the same, but I feel like we're both going to be kind of leaning towards the same team here.
I'm going Dolphins, but
Yeah, man, I hate to pick the same team. Honestly, I'm looking. Do we have a single? Are we gonna have a single difference this whole week?
I don't know. It's a weird week.
Yeah,
Uh,
because it's like the Steelers just beat the Buccaneers, but I
yeah,
just didn't see them.
I did see that Tua is like supposed to play or something
Yeah,
like that.
two is
So,
starting, so
that's
I'm gonna
maybe
go
our pick
Dolphins. But
if he has another concussion. But yeah, both
yeah,
of us go Dolphins. So that whole left column there, we picked the same game, and
yeah,
it's not really like we're like I'm sure one of us is trying to pick after the other. It's just like why would we take unnecessary risks on like the Texans beating the Raiders and stuff?
yeah. Like the closest one I claim to is one of the last two, or the Colts game. I feel like
Yeah,
the Colts.
I think the Colts could, relatively surprise the Titans. Not like it would be a huge upset technically wise, but I wouldn't expect a lot of people to be leaning their direction. So
Yeah,
there's a few games you could go other ways, like you said, the Broncos maybe, or if you think the Steelers are going to keep it going. But
yeah. Here,
yeah,
if we don't have another difference, if we don't have a difference the rest of the week, I'll switch my pick to the Colts, so we at least have one difference.
alrighty, sounds good.
um,
And knowing my luck, you'll probably get that right.
Jonathan Taylor comes back and gets like 500 yards.
Hey, honestly, I'd take that over for my fantasy team over the L. I'll take the L on here in order for my fantasy team to get that production. But let's go ahead and get into the AFC versus NFC matchups where we have the Falcons and the Bengals now. 2-3-3 teams this season
Yeah.
so far.
I just don't think the Falcons are going to be able to win a whole lot because Marcus Mariota, he played good last week. He completed over 90% of his passes, but he only threw 14. And like I don't think you're going to get that same production out of him like in back-to-back weeks. And I don't know, the Falcons they seem like such a hot or cold team. Like one week they'll look like a top 10 team, another week they'll look like a bottom 3. So
Yeah.
I'm going Bengals here. I think they're kind of starting to find their rhythm a bit after a rocky start.
Yeah, I mean, it. I pretty much agree with everything you said about the Falcons. They just kind of it's hard to bet for them because they're so shaky, or
Yeah.
wishy-washy, I guess you could put it as. So I guess I'm gonna go with the Bengals too, as much as I don't want to completely agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
But
And also, is
um,
Cordero Patterson, is he still out?
I'm not sure entirely. Let's see. We can look it up real quick. Cordell Patterson injury is yeah, he's not eligible to return from injured reserve
Uh,
until week 9.
I
So
forgot he was on injured reserve.
yeah, so he won't be back for sure until week 9. So that's a pretty big hit to their offense.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty safe to go with the Bengals on there. Now we have. I said it before the video. Possibly the worst 5-1 team in the NFL history here, taking on the Jaguars.
That's a little bit better. I thought you were going to say the worst football team, but
I know that would go to the Washington football team.
I'm going to go Giants here.
Yeah.
Nobody's surprised. I don't know.
I mean, sitting at 6-1, it would probably be one of the bigger upsets this season if they lost to the Jaguars.
Yeah,
especially after the last few weeks.
Which I don't want the Giants to completely be like written off as they're like clear favorites because the Jaguars have looked good at certain times. They looked good last week, but
that's the thing about this season. I feel like almost every game you could argue or logically some way fight for another team winning it. Like it just seems like even the Jaguars, who they're supposed to be better, but they're not really supposed to be quite there yet. They've had games where they looked dominant. They shut out the Colts. I mean,
shut out the Colts. Lost by 1 score to the Eagles.
It's not like we're saying like, oh, the Giants are going to win by 80. It could be a close game, but I think with how well Saquon and Daniel Jones have been performing, it's probably they're gonna edge it out.
Yeah, which talking about the Jaguars again, like you already looked this year, they shut out the Colts. Then like 3-4 weeks later, they lose a 1-score shootout to the Colts. So it's like, what in the world is going on?
Yeah, I don't know with that team. They'll definitely be one of the better teams going or a couple years down the road, in my opinion. They've just got a lot of young talent on that roster outside. They really need a good quarterback to lock it down over there in Jacksonville. They don't need that pony running around back there in the backfield. So with all that said, I'm going with I'm just kidding. I'll go with the Giants on that one. Next up, we have Seahawks and Chargers.
This one's kind of an interesting one.
The Geno Smith legend continues to live on. Sitting at 3-3, 1-1 in their division.
I kind of am wanting to pick the Seahawks here, but at the same time, I kind of don't want to pick against the Chargers. But I don't know. The Seahawks have been another one of those teams, kind of like the Falcons, but I think they've been more. I think they've been more consistent, but they just lose more close games. I feel like
I want to pick the Seahawks, but I'm a stick with my gut on this one and go Chargers.
Yeah, which I will say the Chargers did not look all that great against the Broncos. They came away with the win, but it was not particularly good because Justin Herbert threw it almost 60 times and didn't even have 250 yards. So
lockdown Broncos defense, we all know.
I'll go with the Seahawks here. Give them the advantage here.
Change it up a little bit. Our first different pick of the week so far. I would like to see the Seahawks win, so I'm not going to be mad either way there. Like I've said every week, Geno Smith, I want him to win MVP this season. So let's get that done. If you're a Seahawks player, just get Geno Smith a lot of stats. It doesn't matter if you win. Just get him just get him rushing yards, passing yards, all you can do. Get Geno Smith those stats. And next up, we have the Chiefs and the 49ers. The Bills finally got over the hump and beat the Chiefs last week.
Yeah, and I think the Chiefs are going to bounce back here. 49ers have not looked that impressive the last couple games.
Yeah, I'm not to knock it on the 49ers, but I just think the Chiefs are a better team.
Yeah, because 49ers, I still think, that division is still fairly wide open, but I don't know, the last couple games they just looked off to me.
So honestly, that one's probably in my opinion, the 49ers could win. I could be completely wrong, but that's one of the easier selections this week to me.
Yeah.
I think the Chiefs just there's no way they lose back-to-back weeks, in my opinion.
They're out for blood now.
Yeah, exactly. Now we have the Chicago Bears taking on the Patriots with Bailey Zappi continuing to start, I believe.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
There's been rumors that he's could have a chance to start going forward, which is weird, but I guess that's something they might want to discuss.
Yeah. Which, who would have thought Bailey Zappi would be the best rookie quarterback going through this season?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, we've only seen, what, like 2? No, we've seen 3, because Skylar Thompson has played for the Dolphins.
Who would have thought Bailey Zappi would be the best quarterback in this matchup? I mean,
who would have thought Bailey Zappi and Skylar Thompson would have been 2 of the first 3 to start this year?
Just like I've said, just a weird year for the NFL.
Yeah.
And I think we both know where I'm going in this one. I'm taking the Patriots. So.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's much that needs to be said. But, I mean, could be wrong, but the Patriots did just shut out the historic Lions offense a couple weeks ago. So
it's not a good sign if you're a guy in Justin Fields who can't throw it more than 8 yards down the field.
Yeah, and who can't throw more than 20 times a game.
All jokes aside, but they don't seem to trust him, giving him the keys to the offense completely, and I do think that's probably holding them back a little bit as far as their potential. Not that they would be a great team if they gave him a full key to the offense, but I do think they would be slightly better offensively if they did.
Yeah,
they just seem kind of like they're uneasy about letting him take over completely, and that's probably, other than that, that's probably the reason I would pick against them, but also they're the Bears, so I'll never pick them. Next up, we have our NFC matchups. There's only 4 this week, so a little bit less than usual. First off, we got the Saints and the Cardinals.
Yep, Thursday night.
Another excellent Thursday night primetime game. 2-2-4 teams. Just a great matchup for us there.
Which... I had seen, because Jameis Winston still, I think, is coming back from his injury, so he's not going to play, I don't think. And Andy Dalton got injured, so Taysom Hill could be in line to start.
Drew Brees coming out of retirement.
I don't think anybody wants to see that. You'd be better off putting his son in there or something.
Or Ian Book again over Drew Brees.
Honestly. Ian and Book looked about like Drew Brees, though. So.
To be fair, he did. Weird matchup here because Cardinals just look weird. They just look bad.
This feels like a game the Cardinals should win, especially if Andy Dalton and Jameis are both out. But I don't know. I'm gonna go Saints. Yeah,
we both go that way this time.
Yep, I'm going Saints.
It's just like I think the Cardinals should win, but they just haven't looked all that great.
Yeah, kind of like the Raiders. Like they should be able to win this game, but they just.
Like, if we go back to that Raiders matchup, like, if the Texans win, I'm not even going to be shocked, honestly.
Yeah.
It's just going to – I feel like they're going to be up, 35-0 in the fourth, and then they're going to blow a 35-point lead in the final 2 minutes, and it's going to be, a historically best comeback ever by the Texans or something like that.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know, 2 teams in the Cardinals and Raiders that are criminally underperforming. So – I mean, hopefully the Saints can get it done, so both of us are right on that one. Now we have the Lions coming off of a bye week, taking on the 4-2 Cowboys, who come off of a loss against the Eagles. I
would like to pick the Lions, but I'm going to go Cowboys just because, Dak's coming back. I think this is kind of a easy game to get him back into things a bit.
Now, last week I said I'm going to stop picking teams just because I want them to win. But, it's the Lions versus the Cowboys. Jared Goff, historically one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, obviously. So I'm going to pick the Cowboys to win this.
Yeah.
I would love to see, I would be more than happy to be wrong on this one. Let the Lions win. But,
yeah.
I
thought for sure the Lions would be a lot better record-wise.
Yeah, they could be if their defense was good and they had, some of those closer scoring games. I feel like a lot of their games, they just, from my perception, they've just been like 180 to 180.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Though I feel like their defense hasn't been as bad as it has.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just, I feel like it's kind of one of those situations where their defense is good the whole game, but then when they need them the most, they kind of just let them score.
yeah,
Or like their offense is scoring consistently the entire game, and then you get into the fourth and they can't get a point.
yeah,
But yeah, unfortunately, I'm gonna pick the Cowboys there, which it's so weird to see. The Eagles are, by our predictions, the Eagles 6-0, Giants 6-1, and third in the division with another win, 5-2 would be the Cowboys.
yeah.
Like nobody would ever estimate that a 5-2 team would be third in their division.
Especially in that division.
Yeah, I know. Well, that was the division that 5 wins in the entire season would have got you in the playoffs a few years ago.
Yeah.
That's a crazy turnaround for that division. I do think, I think the Eagles might come, not like fall all the way down. I think they'll come back down to earth maybe a little bit. You know, from being undefeated all the way. I don't think they'll be undefeated all the way through, but I think they're gonna drop a few games. But that division's definitely gonna probably have, at least in my opinion, all three of those teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's the thing that's sad. Like the Eagles, if they win one more game, they could honestly, if this would have been that time, they could just sat Jalen Hurts for the rest of the year, and they'd have gotten
win one
the
more
playoffs.
game. Don't get any injuries. Just sit all of your starters. Give like a practice squad kicker the starting quarterback job, and you make the playoffs if you're in that division a few years ago. So, just a weird time to be in that division.
Yeah.
And speaking of that division, we have another team there facing off against the Packers. We have the Commanders and the Packers going head to head on Sunday.
Yeah, the Commanders with Taylor Heineke starting, but
yeah.
I'm gonna go Packers have to bounce back. If they lose this game, I think there's serious concerns that they miss the playoffs. I mean, well, I don't know if I'd say miss the playoffs, but serious concerns because the NFC, it's not really that top heavy, but it's like if they have the similar record to the 49ers, Saints, someone like that, the Rams, because you look at how far ahead the NFC East is, like at least 2 of those teams, possibly 3.
If everything stays the same, they've got the top 3 spots locked down.
Yeah.
In that division alone.
Yeah, because if those 3 teams stay in the playoffs, the Packers, they either have to hang on to the wild card spot or they have to overtake the Vikings, and I don't know if they'd be able to do that.
Yeah. If we lose this week, fire Matt LaFleur, trade Aaron Rodgers, trade everybody, and get me Mason Crosby starting at quarterback there. Mason Crosby. Have you seen him recently? He literally looks like he's about 80 years old.
Yeah. I don't know how he's still kicking it, literally, but
I don't, and he's still pretty decent at it too,
yeah.
which is the surprising thing.
He'd be looking like Adam Vinatieri out there with his Santa Claus beard.
He might be trying to pass Adam Vinatieri for oldest kicker, honestly.
I gotta look and see how old Mason Crosby is. I feel like he's gotta be like 45 or something.
I'm not sure how old he is, but I'm pretty sure it's less than you would imagine.
Yeah, he's probably like...
He's only 38, so...
Wow.
He's just got gray hair. That's the main thing that really just makes him look older than a normal player at 38 would be. So you went Packers on this one. I want to go Packers. Obviously, I'm a Packers fan, but I said we were going to bounce back last week after the Giants lost, which... I mean, losing to the Giants in any way, shape, or form is inexcusable.
Never come back from that.
Yeah, that's like going into 2016 and losing to the Browns, or like 2008 and losing to the Lions. If you lose to the Giants, you might as well move your franchise to another state completely.
Ooh, the CFL.
Yeah, I know. Go to the AAF, which doesn't even exist anymore.
Just retire everything.
Yeah. I guess I'm gonna go Packers on this one, but if we lose, I'm not gonna be too heartbroken over it. I've kind of given up on any Super Bowl hopes this season.
Just like you told me last week. Like I didn't even watch NFL. I only watch college football.
Yeah, I'm just here for my predictions. I doubt I'll probably watch this Commanders-Packers game. Honestly, I'd watch every other single game before I watch my Packers. I'd probably get embarrassed by Taylor Heineke. But hopefully I'm wrong on that one. So next up in the final game, we have the Buccaneers and the Panthers. Bucks lost a shocking one to the Steelers last week,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna stick with them against the Panthers
Yeah, I
here.
mean, PJ Walker starting again. Maybe Jacob Eason plays. He got some playing time last week, but
Yeah,
I did see Sam Darnold is back from injured reserve, but he will not be playing this week. So,
he's probably got mono or something. Yeah, I
but
mean,
the Panthers probably wind up with the first overall pick, if I'm being
yeah,
honest.
I think out of all the one-win teams, the Panthers are the worst.
Because that's
Uh,
like they've got so much more talent than the Texans, but I think the Texans will probably win more games than them. I mean, they got that
yeah,
tie.
it's just the Baker Mayfield way, you know.
Yeah, he woke up
How
feeling
he does
dangerous.
it. He did.
Bad
He
thing
woke up
is,
trying to see how many interceptions he can throw.
he woke up dangerous to the Panthers. So.
Yeah, he spent too much time filming those commercials for the Browns stadium than he did practicing in the off season, I guess.
Hey, I will say he only got like 2 weeks to practice with the Panthers, so before the preseason. But man,
Panthers just like you said, they're probably gonna have the number 1 overall pick, and
Bryce Young.
I don't know who they're gonna take. I guess it could be Bryce Young, probably Will Levis. You know, he's the greatest quarterback of all time.
Eat them bananas and drink the coffee with milk or mayo in it.
Yeah, that's what the Panthers really need. They need a modern solution at quarterback, and coffee and mayonnaise is just a really modernized solution.
Yeah.
To that QB problem there in Carolina.
They want to get him fitting in with the Panthers fans where they throw up every day.
Yeah. I mean, you already saw all the nasty Yang signs Will Levis can throw up, and maybe he'll fit in the Charlotte area. So just get him to injure his hand a little bit, and he'll fit right in Carolina. So what did we finish this week with? Did we only have one different selection?
Yeah. I'll go ahead. I'll pick the Colts. So we have the Colts and Seahawks as the differences.
Yeah. So I picked the Titans, you took the Colts, and then I picked the Chargers, and you took the Seahawks. Which honestly, both of those will probably work out for you because I know whenever I pick the underdog, they tend to lose by like 80. So
yeah, I don't know. There's just so many games this season that do not. It's such a weird season. Probably. I don't know. I feel like every season we're at this point and we go, this has been the weirdest NFL season of all time, but this one has felt very, very weird.
I feel like this one's one of those where you can legitimately say this might be one of the weirdest seasons of all time. Yeah. This almost as weird as like the Kansas Jayhawks being undefeated until like week 5 or 6 or something like that.
Because this is the weirdest thing because it's like you look, there's like 4 or 5 teams that have 5 to 6 wins at this point, and then there's like 2 or 3 that have I think it's 4 that have 1 win. Everyone else has from 2 to 4. It's like over 75% of the league almost has about the same record.
Yeah, it's anybody's game though. I mean, just a couple wins and you could take your division unless you're like the Texans or the Panthers or the Lions over there, I guess.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing is I feel like the AFC. The AFC has so many explosive teams. It's like you look at the top teams in the NFC. You got the Eagles, Vikings, Bucks, Giants, Cowboys. Like none of those teams, like even the Eagles at 6-0, I feel like would get demolished by the Bills in the Super Bowl. Maybe not demolished, but I think it would be fairly easy. Bills win.
I mean, I feel like either way, the Chiefs or the Bills are the favorites to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
No matter, like, obviously they would have to get through each other, but you know what I mean. One of them is the favorite to win the Super Bowl.
Until the Seahawks come in and win it.
Until the Seahawks win out the rest of the season, they get the number 1 seed in the NFC, and they beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl.
That'd be the way for them to win it. Geno Smith fakes a pass, then he just hands it to the running back, and he turns and points at the camera. Like, Russell Wilson, you should have done that.
They'll call it at the 1 yard line, run right up the middle instead of a slant interception.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. And then Geno Smith can turn and point at Russ or point at the camera or something. Pull a Jim Halpert, stare at the camera.
Stare at the camera and say they counted him out, but he didn't call back or whatever. Those are our final predictions for Week 7 of the NFL season so far. If you've been enjoying this series, both of our channels As always, in the videos, our links to both channels are there. Thank you all for continuing to support this series and watching it. Make sure to drop a like on both video, hit the subscribe button on both channels. Thank you all for continuing to join us, and we shall see you guys next time.
Yep. See y'all in the next one.
Peace.